Hello and welcome back to our passive compost heated greenhouse. This is only a 6x12, but we're able to heat it a lot easier than we are our 52-foot greenhouse. That's a lot of work heating a large greenhouse, and we really haven't been out here in about 2 weeks. I kind of came out this weekend and did a little bit of work, and I wanted to show everybody what we've got for results out here, leaving this compost heated greenhouse for 2 weeks at a time, and it's still running. And this pile's been burning for about 3 months, a little over 3 months here. I threw my shade cloth up today so I could see in here without sunglasses on. It's pretty bright outside and we have nothing but snow, so I had some snow blindness going on in here. I've been working on creating a better passive solar box for my greenhouse, and I really needed the insulation, so I ended up building about a 45-degree angle at our southern sun. So this is a good southern bed, and I can roll all this up. I got a little PVC pipe so I can roll this up for the springtime, so I can just leave this dormant basically until I need it for next winter. So I really wanted to use the longevity of this and be able to build a permanent structure, so I used some 2x3s that I had and just built a little frame. I've just been using our reinforced recycled poly that came with our big greenhouse kits that we didn't want to use for outside. This should work very well because we've got some vent holes in there, and we'll be able to roll this up if it gets too hot in here. So we've got a great little microclimate going on in here, and I kind of want to pull this up and show everybody how I'm operating this. So I'm able to just roll that up and just basically clamp it so it'll stay up, and we've got both of our side supports to keep each side up. So this is a nice, decent little greenhouse inside a greenhouse. We're starting to use this microclimate in a better way because we have our compost heated floor. It will rise up and get trapped in this bed, and we will also store solar energy into these bricks and into the floor. Double backed this whole wall with a bunch of bubble wrap, and then I've threw a bunch of snow, which is starting to melt, but I keep piling snow up on the northern side of our greenhouse to provide better insulation. Now, I came out here this weekend to do all this work, and I made a complete mess. I got a bunch of junk in my overflow tank there, but everything was still running, and I want to show and take some temps and show our build here kind of in depth. I just wanted to talk about our ideas behind all of this and ideas going forward. We're planting a ton of stuff out, and we're able to get all that stuff hardened off out here inside this little box, while we're able to use our compost heat and the passive heat from the sun the best we can. Kind of dropped the ball this winter. I didn't get all my plants in as early as I could, and a lot of them didn't survive because I started them so late in the season. I left my summer crops in here too long, and they were running for the farmer's market, so we were definitely trying to harvest as much as possible and not thinking for the winter. So I guess February is a best a time as any to start planting. We're in zone 5A, 4B here, so it's very cold at night. We've had nothing but negative temperatures. So we are sitting about 87 degrees in here. This was just in the sun that took it out, so it's probably not fully 87 in here. That's a little bit warm. And we're sitting about 10 degrees outside Fahrenheit. So being able to hold on to all of these temperatures and kind of transfer them in the floor and combined them with our compost heater, we're able to get good growth in here, and we're able to get at least 50 degrees overnight. We are able to keep our plants alive and sprouting, and we're able to bring some of our dormant plants out of dormancy. We've got some of our oregano, red vein sorrel. We've got some of our cold hardy rose bushes, some mini rose bushes that have been doing well. So being able to come out here and not have everything frozen up is an absolute dream. This is great. We've got steamy walls in this greenhouse. The sun just got up and broke behind some clouds, so we're really catching some solar rays. I'm standing underneath the shade cloth because it cools it down to about 70 degrees. We're sitting about 80 plus in the sun right there, and that is decent. We're getting some good solar activity today, allowing our plants to get some good sunlight. I had my large compost thermometer out here, and it was showing about 90 degrees and about 70 degrees on the back wall. So we're blowing about 70 Fahrenheit, 65, 70 air into the floor of our greenhouse because we turned our fan around, and we're pumping about 60 water into our greenhouse also. I don't know what our overflow tank's sitting at right now. We can check out the temp of the water here. Let's see what kind of temps we got coming out of our water here. The water blowing out is about 60 degrees. Our water coming out of here is about 60, pumping in, and the tank's only about 54, 55 degrees. So we're getting a little bit of transfer, and it's keeping it thawed and definitely transferring heat inside the greenhouse and acting as a giant thermal mass, catching a little bit of sunlight, but for the most part our compost heats that sucker up and heats the floor up, enabling us to grow in all of these beds. We've got all of this oregano, even got some little peas coming up back there, got some corn salad, a bunch of little tatsoi here, got some sorrel, some chard, this is our red vein sorrel, tons of tatsoi transplanted, a little bit of kale. We got a ton of Egyptian walking onions coming up in there. I had transplanted all those out from one big bulb in order to get a good harvest of them, and I just want to be able to propagate a few of these out so I can start a new Egyptian walking onion bed outside our greenhouse in the spring here. I've even got some of our marshmallow herb. I'm forcing that on. You can see where I had taken a cutting of it and it's starting to grow up decently. That is very cool. So this bed has been working wonderfully. Our rocks on the back wall are sitting about 82 degrees. So all of our rocks are holding about 80 degrees. And we've got all these insulated from the back outside with a ton of snow. And we've got all our bubble wrap layers and a little bit of this mylar foil. So we are definitely holding some heat in there. I kind of sealed this off. We've got this whole little heat sink area. We've got a little bit of seed planted along with our corn salad. A bunch of our lettuce in there. Some of our kales. We got our thermometer. After I took it out of the sun, it came down to about 82 degrees, so that's decent temperatures for inside the greenhouse here. I just wanted to show this free little recycled material build. We had our 2x3s, we had our extra poly, we had everything here, just a few screws and basically a clamp. So all of this was thrown together within a day, and I had got this together, transplanted everything out. I bought myself a nice expensive bag of soil with the frog on it, and I threw it in here and tilled it up with our compost bed that we already had, and I replanted everything in here. And this morning when I came out here, this was all just as it is, and it's been sitting. I had the cover on it, so it was basically holding all of that heat from overnight, but I can have this up during the day if I come out here. If not, I can have this down. I have a few little eyelet holes in it, that way there is some ventilation. That wall is open down there where our compost heater is kind of circulating air, so we don't have that hole completely blocked off, but there's about a 4-inch gap where it can get some oxygen exchange, so it's not just dead air in there. I wanted some type of ventilation. If it gets too hot, that hot air will flow out that side. So we're not going to cook everything in here. These plants seem to be loving that soil here. We've got a bunch of little stuff. It's hard to see all the plants because they're so small, but we just got our one board there, one board here, creating a nice little angle for all of that to roll right down and cover up. I'm going to get that covered. This is how this is going to look 90% of the time. It's got a nice angle for the sun to shine right in. We've got our little clamp here basically holding everything, and everything is rolled up by that little PVC pipe. Very, very simple. I ended up planting about 10 to 12 varieties of plants in that whole bed between transplanting and sowing seed. I wanted to have such a different diversity because I wanted to diversify those risks. I didn't want to have all my crop eaten by a slug or all my crop killed by the cold. Some of them are more cold hardy than others, and some are more susceptible to heat damage. So we're going to kind of figure it out and see what kind of results we see out of this little bed here. That's why I have different experimental plants in there. And same thing with this bed here. You can see that all of our radishes have kind of died back, but all of our lettuces and tatsois and little onions coming up, and our leeks are all thriving in there and doing pretty well. We've got lots of plants coming up in here, but I need to get the soil amended in there. Those plants are just riding off of compost from last summer. I filled these beds with compost, unfinished compost nonetheless, but it still broke down and there's not a whole lot of nutrient value left in that bed. That is why I filled this whole bed with a bunch of soil and mixed it in and got a good amended soil for all these new plants to go into. I just want to thank everybody for watching. If anybody has any questions on anything we covered today, definitely drop it in the comments below.